The day I found my bank account empty, I was already drowning in grief. It had been exactly 1 month since James passed away from a heart attack at just 42. The money from his life insurance and savings, nearly $2 million, was supposed to help me rebuild my life. But now, as I stared at my phone screen, all I saw was a zero balance. Oh, looking for something? Diana's voice was full of smug satisfaction. She stood leaning against the doorframe of James' old office. My sister-in-law had moved in after the funeral, saying she wanted to help settle his affairs. Now, I finally understood the real reason. "What did you do?" I asked, though deep down, I'd already knew. Diana had never liked me. She believed I had married James for his money, even though we met when I was a struggling artist and he was just starting his software company. That didn't matter to her. "I did what needed to be done," she said, casually inspecting her flawless manicure. "That money belongs to the Hamilton family, not some gold digger who tricked my brother with her fake free-spirited act." I stood up from James's desk, my legs shaking. "That money is legally mine. James left it to me." Diana laughed, sharp and cruel. "Good luck proving that. The transfer was completely legal. I had power of attorney while you were too busy grieving to handle anything." She was right about one thing. I had been lost in grief, barely able to function. Diana had stepped in, offering to take care of the paperwork, the bank accounts, and everything else that comes with losing a spouse. I trusted her because she was family, because she was the only piece of James I had left. What a mistake. "Why?" My voice cracked as I asked. "Why would you do this to me?" Diana's perfectly made-up face twisted with contempt. "Because you never deserved him," Diana sneered. "Do you know how many times I told James he could do better? That he needed someone from our world, not some nobody with a paintbrush who couldn't even sell her art." Her words cut deep, but something else caught my attention. A small red light in the corner of the room, barely visible behind a family photo. James had installed security cameras in his office 6 months ago after a break-in attempt. He never told Diana. He wanted to keep it quiet and not worry anyone. I forced myself to look crushed, letting tears fill my eyes. "You're right," I whispered. "I never deserved him." Diana's smile widened, victory shining on her face. "Finally, you admit it. Don't worry, I'll put the money to better use than you ever could. The Hamilton Foundation will thrive under my leadership." She turned to leave, then paused at the door. "Oh, and you should start packing. This house belongs to the Hamilton estate now. I'll be serving you eviction papers tomorrow." As soon as she left, I rushed to James's computer. His camera system was top of the line, recording everything to a secure cloud server that only he and I could access. My hands shook as I logged in, praying it was still active. It was. Not only that, but the past month's footage was all there, proof of Diana's betrayal. I watched in growing anger as she made calls, forged documents, and finally transferred every last cent from my account. But then I found something else. Something that made my blood run cold. 2 days before he died, James had recorded a conversation with Diana. In this very office. I clicked play, holding my breath. "You can't be serious." Diana's voice crackled through the speakers. "A baby," James said, his voice filled with joy. "The fertility treatments worked. Hannah's pregnant. We're going to have a family." Diana scoffed. "You think that's good news? She's tracked you. Now your money will go to her child instead of where it belongs." "Enough," James snapped. "I'm warning you, Diana. If anything happens to me, Hannah gets everything. I made sure of it. And if you try to interfere." The recording cut off, but I wasn't thinking about that anymore. My hand instinctively rested on my stomach, protecting the secret I hadn't told anyone. The baby James would never meet. Diana hadn't just stolen my inheritance. She had stolen my child's future. I picked up my phone, my hands steady now. "Andrew, it's Hannah Hamilton," I said. "I need you to come over right away and bring someone who specializes in criminal law. I had evidence of fraud, theft, and possibly something much worse." Diana thought she had won. She believed she had taken everything from me. But she had forgotten one crucial thing. James had always been smarter than her. Always one step ahead. And now I had proof of everything. Within hours of discovering the video, my living room became a war room. My lawyer, Andrew Chen, sat reviewing the footage while Maria Santos, a criminal attorney he had brought, took detailed notes. This goes beyond fraud, Maria said, looking up from her laptop. The timing of James's death, combined with Diana's actions immediately afterward, it raises serious questions. I felt sick. You think she might have? We can't make accusations without proof, Andrew cut in. But we don't need to. The footage alone shows clear evidence of fraud, forgery, and theft. That's enough to involve the police. But I had a different plan. Not yet, I said quietly. I want to give her enough rope to hang herself first. The next morning, Diana arrived just as she had promised, holding an eviction notice. I accepted it meekly, playing the role of the defeated widow. I'll need a few days to pack, I said, letting my voice tremble. And there's something else you should know. Diana raised an impatient eyebrow. What? I'm pregnant, I whispered. It's James's baby. For a brief moment, the color drained from her face. Her mask slipped, revealing something dark and dangerous beneath. You're lying, she hissed. I pulled out a sonogram, the one I had been saving to show James before he died. I have proof. Diana snatched the paper from my hands, her manicured nails crumpling the edges. She glared at it, but I saw the panic in her eyes. This changes nothing, she snapped. But we both knew it did. You'll never prove it's his, Diana sneered. DNA testing exists, I reminded her softly, and James's child would be entitled to his estate, wouldn't they? She left in a hurry after that, but I knew exactly what would happen next. The cameras in James' office were still rolling, and sure enough, Diana returned that night when she thought I was asleep. I watched the live feed as she tore through his desk, frantically searching for something. When she found his private journal, her hands trembled as she read the last entry, the one where he had written about our successful fertility treatment. The next day, she called a meeting with the family lawyer, Gregory Phillips. By then, I had cameras installed in the living room, courtesy of Andrew's connections. We need to move faster, Diana told Gregory, pacing the room. That woman is pregnant. If she has James's baby, we lose everything. Gregory looked uneasy. Diana, if there's a legitimate heir. There won't be, she cut in. I need you to draft papers renouncing her claim to the estate. Use whatever pressure necessary. Threaten her. Tell her we'll contest paternity, anything. Just get her to sign. And if she refuses? Gregory asked hesitantly. Diana's smile was chilling. Then we'll handle it the same way we handled James. The lawyer went pale. What? What are you saying? Nothing you need to worry about, Diana replied smoothly. Just get those papers ready. That evening, Detective Sarah Chen arrived at my doorstep, no relation to Andrew, but just as determined to see justice done. We've been investigating your husband's death, she said quietly. The autopsy showed irregularities we couldn't explain. Now, with this new evidence, I handed her a USB drive containing all the footage. There's more, I said. Diana's been making calls from James' office. Last night, she contacted someone about taking care of a problem. I have it all recorded. Detective Chen's eyes narrowed. You've been gathering evidence. I learned from the best, I replied, touching a photo of James on my desk. My husband always said to be prepared. The next week passed in a blur of activity. Diana grew increasingly agitated as her attempts to force me out failed. The family lawyer, Gregory Phillips, suddenly disappeared after my lawyers contacted him about being a witness. Then came the morning I had been waiting for. Diana stormed into the house, waving a stack of papers. Sign these, she demanded. Sign them, and I'll let you walk away with enough to start over. I took the papers with trembling hands, real trembling this time, because this was it. What exactly am I signing? I asked. Just a formal renunciation of all claims to the Hamilton estate, she said smoothly, for you and any potential heirs. I looked up at her, letting her see the fear she expected. And if I don't? She leaned in close, her voice dropping to a whisper. Then you might have an unfortunate accident, like James did, when he wouldn't listen to reason. The confession was clear as day, captured by multiple cameras and the wire I was wearing. Within seconds, the house was swarming with police officers. Diana fought, of course. She screamed about setups and frame jobs as they led her away in handcuffs. But the evidence was overwhelming. The cameras had caught everything: fraud, theft, and finally her confession to James's murder. Gregory Phillips turned state's witness, revealing how Diana had slowly poisoned James over weeks, making it look like heart failure. She had planned everything down to being there to help me with the estate. But now justice was finally being served. And James's child, our child, would have the future he fought to protect. In the end, justice was swift. Diana went to prison for murder and fraud. The stolen money was returned to me and my unborn child. The Hamilton family, shocked by her betrayal, finally embraced me as one of their own. 6 months later, I gave birth to James Jr. He has his father's eyes and, according to the doctors, his father's strong heart. The security cameras still run in the house, though I don't really need them anymore. But sometimes, late at night, I sit in James' office and watch old footage back when everything was still right. When he would work late, talking to himself about his dreams for our future. "I've made sure you'll be safe," he says in one recording, his fingers brushing over a photo of us on his desk. "Both of you." And he had. Even in death, James had protected us. His hidden cameras revealed the truth Diana thought she had buried forever. She believed she could steal my inheritance, my home, my child's future. Instead, she lost everything: her freedom, her reputation, and the brother she claimed to love so much. Sometimes justice doesn't come in grand gestures. Sometimes it comes in quiet moments captured by a silent witness, waiting for the right time to reveal the truth.